The importance of posture in meditation. So this took me a very long time to discover because I assumed just to be comfortable, was enough. And coming from a Western background, I wasn't used to sitting cross-legged like how I'm sitting now. Uh, and it took me a long time, to learn to do it. And I only did it later in my adult life, only after I realized the immense benefit of it. So I will discuss that in this video and hopefully give you some amazing pointers to catapult your meditation forwards. Um, I would like to ask you a great favor. If you like the contents of my video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also share to one or two of your friends or your social media channels. This will greatly help my channels to reach out to more people, and I would really appreciate that, and thank you very much in advance for doing so. For those who don't know me, I am Osman. I'm a bioenergy healer on a master level with telepathic healing capabilities, specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, amongst a host of other physiological, psychological, and even spiritual ailments. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having been practicing this art form for almost 50 years and teaching for 44 years. In that period, I've studied under different masters from various schools of thought and different cultures across the globe. And I gleaned out what I felt is the essence and the most important aspects and adapted my own protocols to the 21st century, making them quicker, easier, faster, more time effective. To that end, I now have students in over 100 countries, and my favorite protocol is my 5-minute yoga and meditation program, which you can download for free from my website, yogawellness786.com, where you can also get more information about my services, as well as in the free download is an exchange for you to subscribe to my blog. And also remember, my therapies are all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. So coming back to the sitting postures. So when I started practicing, yes, I was practicing all the yoga positions, but I only practiced what I felt there's some type of benefit to it. And to just sit cross-legged, I I didn't feel anything at the time, from my childhood. And I mean, I could sit for a few minutes, but not for too long. When I go to the yoga class, everyone is on the floor, so you're forced to, sit on the floor. But normally, without cross-legged, with the legs forward and, however we felt comfortable. And no one even taught us the significance, of it and the different type of cross-legged positions. Of course, there are many types, but there are three basic types or three fundamental or very popular types. The first one is the easy cross-legged sitting posture. You just cross your legs easily. You sit down and cross your legs, and normally you're leaning against, some type of background, like how I'm leaning now, against this backrest, and then it's easy because to sit cross-legged the easy way on the floor without something supporting you is very difficult, and on the easy posture. Then you get the second one. So the first one is called Sukha Asana, right? So you can, it's a technical term in the yoga postures. Then the second one is what everyone, look at with amazement, that it's like almost impossible, called the lotus posture, where it's like really contortionist to regular people who's not used to sitting cross-legged. Even the easy Sukhasana supposed to be easy sitting. I promise you, it was not easy. When I was forced to sit that way, sometimes, for long periods of time, in any gathering where you have to sit like, more than 30 minutes to an hour, it was a tremendous effort, and the legs get numb, and you have to keep twisting around and, lifting your knees up, and very uncomfortable it was for me. And I normally will just take a wall and just stretch my legs out, or try to fold it, slightly in whichever way was comfortable, and lifting my knees up and so forth, right, and keeping my crouch within my elbows and so forth. And that's how I manage, not knowing what was the significance. So when we went to learn meditation, focusing on meditation and so forth, I just sat comfortably on a couch in a chair. And my reasoning was that the reason people sat cross-legged in the olden days, when yoga was first popularized thousands of years ago in Vedanta and so forth, 1500 years ago to 1900 years ago by Patanjali. And they sat because that was a common way of gathering, and a simple way you can, without having to get stools and chairs, and you can have large crowds of people without worrying about seating arrangements. Everyone just gathered around. In the old days, a person was sitting under a tree and everyone just gathered around sitting on the ground, and they all just, because of that culture, they were sitting like that. So I believe that we in the modern times, we've got chairs, and why, we just have to be comfortable. So I learned to meditate that way. In my adult life, where I went more into advanced meditations, and I even experienced samadhi, in a sitting on a chair, actually, not even a couch, because I went to a meditation center, and there was no way I'm going to sit on the floor, because they were going to meditate for like 2 3 hours. And I knew up front I'm not going to make it on the floor. It's going to be a miserable experience. So because they knew I would not, I can't sit, they provided me with a chair, but I was the only one sitting on the chair. Everyone else was on the floor, but good for them. And and the person who was the leader there and was teaching us, she didn't mind as well, and it was fine. And said, no, you can meditate that way, experience samadhi, sitting on a chair, when I focused that. And then after that, I started to practice and advance in, meditation, the foundations of meditations. So when I say experience samadhi, I mean, the taste of samadhi, it's called the inner conjunction, because body couldn't handle that amount of power. You come out, you come dumbfounded, you can't even talk for over an hour, you are sobbing, and it's like an overwhelming experience. And the feeling is a bit too intense. It's not something, it wasn't it is bliss, but bliss overload. Bliss is amazing, but bliss overload, where it's not just overload, it's like explosion. It's too much. It was not it was not amazing. It wasn't a good experience, actually. It was too much for the body. The body couldn't handle it. And coming back, and then after that, learning the foundational steps, the um, uh, pratyahara and all those things. um, did it sitting, right, listening to guided meditations, and where they guide you with very soft background music, a good ambience. You close your eyes and just listen to that, and it's like about 15 20 minutes, that you just listen to that, and that felt amazing, and that's how I started to program, but all sitting on chairs. And later on, no one told me the benefit of sitting cross-legged. So one day I was saying, I'm meditating, so let me try sitting cross-legged. What's the difference? Now, the biggest problem when you start meditating is you feel sleepy, and boom, you go to sleep. When you're sitting and meditating, especially you're trying to meditate for an hour or something, not. So no one taught me that the 20-minute rule. They just taught me you have to sit from like 3 4 a.m. until 7 a.m., right, for at least 2 3 hours. And so 3 a.m. So they say 3 4 a.m. until around 6 7. So means I should think 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., right? So that is 4 hours. And in the beginning, it was very difficult. Yes, it's amazing for a few minutes. And when there's no CD, you go to a meditation center like a Vipassana center or something, and you sit. And I've never been to any Vipassana retreat, right? So I used to join this organization called Brahma Kumaris. They were offering free meditation courses, and you are welcome to come and meditate in their center, in the early morning as well, and in the weekends. So that's what I used to do, and just to get the hang of it. So the biggest problem was, like, always after a time your head drops and feels sleepy, right? And one day I decided, okay, let me just try sitting cross-legged, because I'm normally meditating on my bed, right? Because it's the easiest place, and the couch is like, you normally when you come, before going out, or when you get up early morning, it's very cold and everything when you're meditating at home. So you just sit up, put a pillow behind you, and then you cross. Then I decided to cross my legs, and they never even tell me about the hands. Just put your hands anywhere. So what actually inspired me was, I watched a video on YouTube on how to meditate, and it was an animated guidance, but it resonated very strongly in me with all the theory that I'd learned from childhood, the type of things they were saying. And it was like, first, it was an extract from the full video on meditation. So it was like a 10-minute extract. And I watched that, and they just said, no, you have to, important is the posture. I said, okay. And then they had a person sitting, just saying simple cross-legged, right? And the person in the animated was sitting normal cross-legged, and they were sitting upright. And they said, you must clasp your hands. The posture is very important. Clasp your hands, because it's like an electrical circuit. You close the circuit, and it's going to make you to retain the energy and the electricity that's going to develop better. So, okay, that's something new. That sounds interesting. So I will sit, but I didn't sit, free. I sat with my back resting somewhere, and I clasped my hand, and I said, they said, no, posture is important. Must cross the legs there, and then you close your eyes and focus on the breath. They said the breath is very important. Just focus on the length of the breath, and this, you'll get a lot of thoughts. And as the thoughts get uh, as you're focusing more and more, the thoughts will start getting less and less. And then they showed a depiction that, if, as your thoughts getting less, there is a download of energy that comes in from the cosmic energy through an opening on the top of the head. Not a real opening, it's like a psychic opening, right? It's an astral opening that you can't see with the naked eye. So they showed in the the animated this thing, like, energy coming down and downloading is going into clearing all the blockages through the astral, like it's like a very cloudy thing, and it's the cloudiness is leaving, right, is what they showed. And I said, oh, this is amazing. And said, as you get used to it, and your mind keep drifting to your thoughts, when you keep bringing, and your calm mind starts get calmer and calmer, and the length of your breath gets smaller and smaller. You're just focusing the breath, yeah, going in and out of the nose, right? So it gets smaller and smaller, and then you're focusing just, yeah, this the breath, here. And they said, as the breath get less, the mind become more silent, the thoughts become less and less. As the thoughts getting less, the download of the energy becomes more intense. So the thoughts like creates like a resistance to the download of the energy. So as you're practicing, I said, I want to download the cosmic energy. This looks amazing, because you're looking at an animated thing, so you can see clearly they're showing it, like how the energy download. If it was a real person, how they're going to show that, right? I mean, no one will be able to see it. So it was a very good idea, and you will sit there, and it will clear, and a lot of illnesses will go away. And even if there's like some itchiness and so forth, you don't need medicine. That's what they said. It will go away. It's just that the negative energy, you just need more meditation, it will go away, right? I said, okay, this is amazing. So let me try sitting like how they said. I said cross-legged. Oh, it was very painful, right? I said, okay, but I could sit a few minutes, cross-legged. I said, okay, let me do it for a few minutes. And then I'll clasp my hand and close it. And what I noticed was that I wasn't, the head was not going, sleepy. I wasn't feeling sleepy, unless, of course, you are very tired, right? But normally, when you're sitting to meditation, it's like Always, this is, you feel sleepy and then you just stop the meditation after that. I wasn't. And it's possible that the pain of the leg, I was thinking initially. And then it took me about, then I started to meditate and I felt the concentration better because they said clasp your hand, this thing, and I was feeling more peaceful, right? Like that. And sitting cross legged, I started to get used. It took me about 2 years to not feel, because whenever I felt pain in the knees, then I stretched my legs out, right? And then as the weeks and months were going by, then I found that the pain was coming at a later and later interval, right? So initially the pain was coming after 2 to 3 minutes, then it was coming after 5 minutes, then after 7 minutes, after 10 minutes, and the months was going. And then eventually, I would say after about 2 years, I could sit an hour, without any pain, sitting cross legged. So I only needed to sit like half an hour to 45 minutes. And they recommended on the video, not 20 minutes, they recommended to sit, the number of minutes according to your age. And I was that time, when I'm watching this video, but no, now I've already experienced the first Samadhi when I was 19, right? And that I did, with mantra, and we were walking and doing the mantra, and then it just collapsed, from the bliss of it. And then the second time I was sitting on a chair, that was, I was in my 30s, and experienced it, and experienced, multiple times, sitting on a bench or sitting on a couch, or, not never on a couch. Always it was in an environment where there were some gatherings, right? Gathering, communal meditation. So there's a power of meditating, with other people who are more advanced and established, because you're sitting in their aura. It fast forwards your progress, and you get a more elevated experience than meditating alone, right? So that was some of the secrets to it. So coming back to the cross-legged, so now there was no pain, and then I wanted to experiment with my legs, uncrossed, sitting on it, because I'm used to meditating on a couch. I said, okay, let me, meditate on a couch as well. But I found a big difference when I crossed my legs and when I didn't cross my legs. Then I started to notice, because there's no pain after about 2 years of sitting and meditating, and also I was able to. Then I just was experiment. Let's see the difference. So I could feel like a calmness and like a buzz, because you're getting advanced in meditation, like a vibration in the body, and it feels so amazing. Then uncross it, that vibration slows down, it becomes a little lighter. Then I did with the hands clasped and the hands open, hands clasped and open, so I could feel the subtle vibration in the body. So when I unclasped, the vibration stopped. When I clasped, the vibration started again. Unclasped, vibration stopped. Class, vibrant start again. So I said, wow, this is amazing. So this is the importance of it. And then I said, uncross my legs. I was feeling sleepy easily. Cross my legs, I wasn't feeling sleepy, right? Of course, very rare occasion when you're very tired, but I'm saying 99% of the time, generally, right? Generally speaking, when I cross it, not feeling sleepy, so it helped my focus and concentration, and I could just sit and be calm easier. When I open my legs, like the mind wanders and drifts more, and easy to fall asleep. So I saw one of the biggest problems in meditation is solving the sleep problem, right? So then now I said maybe Padmasana. It took me 2 years to sit in the normal. How I'm gonna go into Padmasana, but I tried it. It was like very excruciating. I said, no, let me try something else. So there was the Siddhasana, right? It was much easier, where you just bring your right heel, you stretch your legs forward, you just bring your right heel to your perineum, just like near it or touching, right? They recommend touching, but can also be near. And then you just take your left toes and your left leg and just put it over the calf muscle, and then you just push your left toe slightly into the gap between your calf and your thighs, right? Now it seemed like a little easier. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it, like that, and that seems possible. It was not so painful, and it was achievable. And I didn't feel any major difference between the easy posture and that posture, right? Siddhasana. But I said that looks a bit more professional. Let me learn that, just out of curiosity, and see what's the difference. And it felt it because I got used to sitting. Now this is like over 2 years of practicing, sitting. And then I said, let me get used to that. And whenever my leg used to pain, like at any point after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, then I used to just open it and then continue meditating. And then after about 5 minutes, I see I'm fine, I'll cross it again. So that way I was trying to meditate longer and longer. And then I went into longer periods of meditating. See what's the difference between meditating for 20 minutes, meditating for 1 hour, meditating for 1.5 hours. So I found whenever I meditate long term, like when I first was learning with the Brahma Kumaris, they learning like 3-4 hours a day, right? So I thought that was the standard at that time. So I noticed that it started to become easier after the 90-minute mark. That the sweet spot is 90 minutes, that if you meditate minimum 90 minutes, so I felt that was like a good rule of thumb. And in yoga sciences, that is called like a unit of time. Every 90 minutes approximately is like a time units. They didn't have hourly units, they had 90 minutes. So the Brahma Muhurta, they say the early morning time before sunrise, the is that 1.5 hour unit just before sunrise is the most effective time to meditate, where a lot of the meditators are meditating, and you join that that energy vibration, wherever you are at home, and you focus on on that vibration. It's much easier, you make more advancement, and it's a better, you progress exponentially more, like 10 at least 10 times more, faster by meditating in that time, right? So coming back, I was sitting in Siddhasana, and I didn't know what's the difference between the easy posture and Siddhasana, right? And then as I started getting used to, as I'm progressing, and as the prana in you developing, you're getting used to it, I found my legs becoming more and more flexible. And then I saw a video on how to sit in Padmasana, right? So the secret to sitting in Padmasana, sorry, it will all come together as I'm going with this video, right? On the actually amazement of it. But it took me a long time to find it, and I found it naturally. So the first was learning to sit in that posture, right? So when I watched the video on how to sit in Padmasana, they said the main thing is that you need to stretch the thigh, the tendon in the thigh, that needs to become relaxed. So your secret is you need to practice with your heels together. You just sit in a comfortable position, put your, the heels together, your feet, the under part of your feet together, and pull it towards you, right? And then you just sit and you try to bring the two knees down. So even now, I mean, it's not so much down, right? But it's like almost there. So you have to practice more and more like this. And then it makes easier for Padmasana, right? So then I started to do that, and I was able to, with a little bit of pain, to go into Padmasana. And I didn't feel the benefit of it. And I said, why go into so much of pain? Siddhasana is fine. Until later, I found a video on meditation from someone who's very advanced in it on YouTube. Randomly I found it, and this person, he was talking about some of the teachers that I knew about, that I read about. He was talking about Babaji, right? The person that was spoken of by Paramahamsa Yogananda in his famous book Autobiography of a Yogi. And I said, okay, I remember this character, and he was mentioned. Then I started to pay attention, and I knew he would know what he's talking about, because I mean, those who don't know Babaji, read Autobiography of a Yogi. You'll know more about that, right? That's a long story. So he said that the Siddhasana is superior to the Padmasana, right? The way that I was sitting, right? The professional pose, right? With the right heel to the perineum, and then you just take the foot and put it comfortably between your thigh and your calf muscle, with your toes there, and sitting comfortably, right? And then the actual thing is, the technical way is bring your right heel to your perineum, and then you lift your knee, this, up, and just bring your heel to the center of, to your pelvis, and then just drop your left this thing and take your heel to touch above, just below the navel area, and then bring your toes into between the calf and the thing, so that like your private parts are between your two heels, right? That is the very technical. And I said I'm not going to go so technical. Long as I'm sitting comfortably in this, and it's fine. But the important is the left heel touching, I mean the right heel touching the perineum. And he said just sitting in this posture is like a meditation. It's like an automatic meditation. You don't have to physically meditate or anything. Just sitting on it will activate the meditation energy. I said, wow, this is amazing. He said superior to Padmasana also. I said, this is amazing, but Padmasana is not easy, right? And you need a lot of practice, right, to get it. I mean, there is a way. If I want to really practice going to it, I'll go into it, right? So I sat in it, and then I said, no, I want to benefit, and make it, but I never perceive or get the feeling that is better. I was just going on faith, that this is better. And I got used to sitting that way and meditating, right? And then when I was able learn how to manually activate my kundalini, right, through the advanced pranayama method, cracking that puzzle was like, oh, I don't know why people keep things secret in yoga, right? But I cracked the puzzle, and I found some information, one or two secrets here and there. I just put two and two and analyzed, and then it worked for me, right? And then because that kundalini energy, oh, it's like very powerful, right? But I awaken it in a manual, controlled manner, right? Because we learned how to do it in a controlled manner, and that is amazing strategy as well. So I won't go into that right now in this video. I have discussed it in other videos. So I found the difference, because that energy is like really powerful. It's like almost unbearable, right? So I never go like to the Samadhi level where I couldn't handle like explosion, but slightly unbearable. So when I sat in the easy cross-legged posture, I found it's like, unbearable. But when I sat in Siddhasana, I found it was more bearable. I kept alternating, like like push and awaken the Kundalini, sitting no, sit like with open leg. Oh, it was like very unbearable, right? Like it's like overpowering the whole body. The energy was going helter skelter everywhere, and were like really vibrating me. And then when I sat cross-legged, it was a little bit more manageable. But when I sat in Siddhasana, it was very easily controllable. It was much more bearable. Then I realized that if you meditate this way and the Kundalini, you automatically get the inner conjunction or something. It becomes easier for you to control it. And what actually happens is when the Kundalini goes into the spine can take, it's designed for very high levels of current. It very easily takes the current, right? Any amount of current, but the body can't take it. So you're redirecting all the energy so that that burst of energy gets, most of it get directed up the spine, but some of it also spills. So the Siddhasana found it's easier. So when I'm doing energy healing, I cannot sit in the normal easy posture. I have to sit, because I'm taking that energy, I'm waking it, and I'm sending it telepathically, right, to the person that I'm healing. So I have to sit in Siddhasana, because then I can contain the energy easier, because otherwise it becomes unbearable, right? And so the Siddhasana is able to make it to withstand. And then when that energy comes, if the whole body becomes loose, to even sit in Padmasana is no problem, right? It was much easier when that energy Kundalini awakens to sit in Padmasana. Then I used to sit in Padmasana to do some healings. And well, of course, it was painful, right? In the beginning. But as you awaken that energy, you don't feel the pain, because that energy is very powerful. And I can sit like, for a whole session. And I used to do initially like 90-minute sessions, and I could sit the whole 90 minutes in Padmasana. But normally for meditation, I can't even sit Padmasana 5 minutes, because even 2 minutes was difficult. But with the energy, you can. And I found that in Padmasana, it's much easier to handle the higher level than Siddhasana. So when you're in Siddhasana, it is more to help you to activate the energy to start it, because the right heel is going to the perineum, right? And touching, and it's redirecting everything to go up the spine. But when it starts to become very high, right, because the Kundalini energy gets higher and higher and higher, right? So I've developed my Kundalini energy from the basic level where it was just slightly unbearable, and I developed it 700 levels above that, right? 700 over a 7-year period. Imagine. And but my body, as the time is going, my body is getting adjusting to the higher and higher levels, of the energy, and it was becoming more and more. Because if you read the autobiography of a yogi, it's what you're actually doing is you're transforming you're awakening your energy body and making your energy body more and more active. So when the energy body becomes more and more active, you can withstand higher and higher levels, of the Kundalini energy. So eventually, when the Kundalini is 100%, where like initially when I had the inner conjunction, that Samadhi that I couldn't handle, I'll be able to easily sit in that Samadhi for as long as possible, right? You could sit for hours in it and it'll be nothing, easy peasy, right? Your body will be able to handle it because you developed your energy body, to be able to withstand that high level. So it took me about 7 years to reach 700 levels increment, right? And still, it's not on the maximum level. It needs, further development. But it's getting closer and closer, to being able to handle, the full force of it, easily. And when it becomes like highly unbearable, sitting in Padmasana is now very beneficial, especially for those who wants to sit long term in Samadhi. Because Samadhi is when the Kundalini is 100%. It's exploding every cell. Siddhasana, better than, you can also sit in Siddhasana, but better than Siddhasana will be Padmasana on that level. When you have now mastered Samadhi, so you can master it. It'll take about more than 10 years, to master Samadhi, to be able to sit in Samadhi, long term. And but if some of you are, I mean, different people, or some people are, attaining Samadhi much quicker, good for you. Then by you practicing to go into Padmasana will be more beneficial. So if you are just on the the regular levels and you're developing, even developing up to 700 levels higher of Kundalini, Siddhasana is fine. It's You don't need Padmasana, even 700 level. But on the full level, I've experienced the full level. I Siddhasana is not enough. Then you will feel it. It's like you need something more, because you won't be able to stay. Even if you won't be able to stay in that Samadhi, you have to just put in Padmasana. But a lot of people, they go into Siddhasana, but Padmasana locks you, because when you go, you lose full consciousness of your body. So when you lock your legs, you sit in a lock leg position. Then when you like lose the conscious, because you come out of your body, right, in the high levels of meditation and this thing, you feel yourself pop out of your body completely. You're not in your body. You are in awareness of your spirit body, right, or your astral body, or your energy body, or your mind body. We also call it your mind body. So you are present no more. You're present in another body that is made of ether, and it's not like a solid body. It's like you feel yourself like a like a gas. You become like a gas, and you are, like very loose and shaky. So you can't feel your body at all. So you want your body not to fall, right? To be in a locked position, so it stays there, in position. So you go in a very fixed, comfortable, and you have to bend slightly forward. So with Siddhasana, depends how you leverage off your heel. So then I learned you put your heel like under your perineum, and then you pull it slightly forward. So you're like using it as a lever, but you're not sitting on it. You first sit on it and then you roll yourself off, so that you just like wedged against it, and then you bring your left leg over, and then you put it, and then now you feel you don't need a backrest, and you got your elbows slightly less high, higher than your wrist, because you slightly forward. If you got your wrist there, you're like too back and you're like falling, you're not balanced. You have to be slightly, very slightly forward, and you sit there, and then you just restful there. And when you sit in Padmasana, lock leg, then you don't have to worry about your body going backwards and so, because the Kundalini energy is so strong up your spine. Your spine become like a pole, rigid. You don't need a back. It's like you've got a pole already in your back, so you become very fixed, and then you can sit in Padmasana. When that happens. So before the Kundalini is fully active, before the Samadhi, that that energy will be flowing so heavily, your spine becomes like a erect pole. You feel like a wooden or an iron pole is in your spine. It becomes rigid. So you don't have to worry about ever needing a backrest. Then you can sit in Padmasana because it's gonna come. The big boy is gonna come. And when you're in Padmasana, you're ready for him, right? And of course, you spend your time developing, your energy body. And then I realized, what's this thing about the Dhyan Mudra? And I used to try it before in the beginning stages. It made no difference whether I was there and I was there. But when I closed my hands, I found, it was a little bit better. And I didn't see any difference between closing my hands and holding, the Dhyan Mudra, like with your index finger touching your thumb and your other three fingers out. And you're just resting, it open like that, right? And then now, as I was developing, I could feel the vibration of the energy. Like whenever I sit in meditation, it's like a buzz, like the whole body is like someone put a vibration machine on, right? You feel, because as you're getting advanced in meditation, now I'm starting to feel the different subtle differences. And then I tried it again when I reached that level to sit with this, and I held it out in the open, and I found that the buzz comes instantly, 2 to 5 seconds when I hold it. And otherwise, I have to wait for a while. Depends how the mind is, and it will come slowly, and eventually it'll come maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. But soon as I hold Dhyan Mudra, 2 to 5 seconds, the buzz used to start. I said, wow, it's fast forwarding and making meditation so much easier. That's why they call it Dhyan Mudra. But in the early stages, I can't feel it. So those of you in the early stages, you're not going to feel it, right? Because using the early, but I promise you, it is improving your meditation fast forwardness. It's increasing it a tenfold or maybe 100-fold, because it's fast forwarding your progress. I can feel it, in the I was able to feel it when I was in the medium level, right? So then I always meditate like this. Then I said, okay, sometimes you want to meditate with something, the backrest, and it's like uncomfortable to hold your hands right in front. And you can also put it on your thighs. I wanted to see the difference. So I hold the Dhyan Mudra and put it on the thighs. And I didn't initially feel the difference, but as the buzz was increasing and I was progressing with meditation, then I noticed the difference between the three hand positions. The first hand position locked the hand, so comfortable. So I could feel there's an improvement, in the buzz, right? So let's say it's 30% higher, 33% higher, right? With the hands locked. And it's so nice and comfortable and amazing, right? Then I hold the Dhyan Mudra and keep it on my lap. It goes to doubles the holding like this, and it doubles, go to 66%, right? When I hold it and this resting on the thighs, it was comfortable to do it. Then I said, let me just stretch out one day, one fine day, after about like a year or two of meditating like that. Then I said, okay, let me just hold it out, right? Because in the beginning, when I was trying it, I didn't find any difference between holding it out on the thigh. So it's more comfortable on the thigh. But as I was advancing more and more, like another 2 years later, and then I put it out, and then I noticed it's more intense. When I put it, I feel that Kundalini going boom into my uh, third eye or hitting. I can feel that energy shoot up instantly into the top of my head when I hold it out. And when I hold it here, it's very light. I just feel the buzz, not that shooting, directly. It was not like opening the floodgates, right? And putting it out was like opening the floodgates. So in one video, someone said there's some energy centers under your arm. When you keep it close to your body, you don't flare your arms out. You close that energy, you like stifle the energy flow. So by sitting, with the hands out, you unstifle the energy. Then I saw the difference between sitting with the back resting against, like how I'm resting now, right? Against something in the back, or the pillow, behind you, or sitting free. So, especially when I'm doing the energy healing, I'm raising the Kundalini up my spine, right? So, when I raising it, right, with leaning, I find that sometimes it gets stuck in certain points because my back is leaning against, something. It's not letting it to flow up free flow. It's getting stuck. I can feel it stuck. Like I thought maybe like the chakras are blocked for me or something. But then when I sit freely, it's not getting stuck. It's like moving freely up the spine. It's going boom up to the head, and I can send the energy, to someone at a much more efficient rate. Then I found that sometimes, like especially long term, you're sitting like 2 hours, right? Like this is not very comfortable, to sit, especially if you're on the floor. Yes, it's okay, but you need something soft, on the floor, like a folded blanket, to make things, a little bit easier. Or I fold my yoga mat, to make it a little bit softer. Then I found a trick. If I take a cushion or something and just put it slightly in the edge under my buttock, so it like tilts my body slightly forward, then it's so comfortable, very comfortable. And when I do it that way, like raise my thing slightly. Now I just put a pillow under, just the edge of the pillow under my buttocks, not the whole. I'm not sitting on the pillow. I just put the edge so that my edge of, so my body is just slightly tilted. It's so smooth. I can sit forever. And then I said, wow, now I got it. And we sit with the Dhyan Mudra. I must know this took me like, I think, about 10 years to discover all these things, right? Because in the lower levels, I couldn't feel the energy. So you're getting the benefit. And then also, it took me, that time I started this in my 40s. So you must know, I am practicing from my age. So it took me over 30 years to discover that, and another 10 years. So 40 years of experience. Why go the hard way, right? So go the easy way. Try, to practice Siddhasana. When your legs are paining, you can uncross it. It's going to take time, about 2 years, if you're not used to sitting cross-legged. First, start with the easy, posture. Once you can sit in the easy cross-legged posture, then try the Siddhasana. And then, with leaning, start with leaning. You don't need to, this thing. And then if you put the cushion under you up front, get used to the right habit up front and get this, up front, right? And then if your legs are paining, you can uncross it, and, you can lean back. When you uncross your legs and your legs forward, and then when it's eased up after a few minutes, cross it again and uncross it when it pains, and cross and uncross, and eventually you'll notice you're not needing to uncross it, right, as often. And then you can sit, because the most you want to meditate normally is around 20 minutes. And then I found there's a secret to 1.5 hours, right? So everyone learning the 1 hour, 1 hour, I found in practice, because I tried all types of meditation, right? All time limits. I'm doing this now for close on to 50 years, right? So I tried every possible combination for years. I tried 2 years of this and 1 year of that and 2 years of this and that, so that I really feel what is the difference. And I've meditated up to about 18 hours a day, right? And meditated the 20 minutes rule. I meditated the 30 minutes rule, the 1 hour rule, the 3 hour rule, the 5 hour rule, and the seven, and I know all the differences, right? So when you're sitting in the right posture, you got everything. You're making your progress so much easier, right? And I found that if you can sit 90 minutes, then it becomes like sweet. After a while, you keep practicing that for about 6 to 8 weeks, 90 minutes. Then you'll notice that when you reach the 90 minutes, this is when meditation starts becoming interesting, and then you going into it. So that's why people get up 3 a.m. meditating 3 hours. The first 1.5 hours is the warm up, and then the next 1.5 hours is the real McCoy. So like maybe sunrise is maybe at around 6 a.m., as hypothetically. So you get up at 3 a.m. From 3 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. is the warm up, and then from 4:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. is the beauty. So that Brahma Muhurta time, you want to have at least a 90-minute warm up before you hit it. That 1.5 hours before sunrise. So I mean, we want to be practical. We in a Western country, and we want to follow other things. So that's the intelligence behind the 1.5 hour rule, and then the 3 hour. Then you will notice, with you practicing more and more, that the 3 hour rule is like amazing. You used to wonder, how on earth is people meditating 3 hours? This is crazy. All you have to get used to is that 90 minutes. So you can slowly do it 20 minutes, but I would say go cold turkey, sit in the right posture, sit in Siddha Asana, and put a cushion slightly under your back, hold Dhyan Mudra, and flare your hands out, and you're going to be comfortable. And it's going to take some time, up to 2 years, for your legs to get used to it. Put in the time, put in the effort. While you're getting used to it, you can cross and uncross, and you can do it on your bed, and whenever you uncross your legs, and you can lean and continue your meditation. So but hold this, and if it's and just hold it out in front. It's a little bit painful and uncomfortable in the beginning. You get used to it, it's going to be fine. But I promise you, it's going to be helping you to progress that much faster. Instead of taking 5 decades, maybe you can do it. So my students who's engage my advanced services, I teach them the correct method up front. And it's not uncommon for my students to reach the breathless state within a 12-month period. This is I was like super amazed. And this is the students who are all from Western countries, from Germany, from Australia, from the UK, and from France, from Italy. Oh, France people are very into meditation. Amazing. Their culture is like a refined culture. They're into arts and fine dining, and they. I think the genetics is used to the finer things, and that's why they are more amenable to things like meditation. Probably it's just my observation, and they sit up front, in the right. So it's probably the reasons fast forwarding much faster than me. And these people got no background, no history of practicing this in the past, right? And going from zero to hero in a very short space of time. This is the possibilities. Of course, with every person, the results may differ, and but I'm giving people, the benefit of, decades of experience, and which hopefully, you can also imbibe something, from my experience, and help you to propel faster, because meditation is like a very long-term contract. It's a lifetime contract, right? But you want to progress quick as possible to the juicy stuff, right? When you meditate, you want to feel the vibration in your body, you want to feel the buzz, you want to feel you're going into that tranquility, and then you want to feel that kundalini, rising, and you can handle it, and the mystical experiences and the mystical powers, and without drugs, and getting control of your life. I mean, the faster you progress, the more control you get in all aspects of your life. And those who believe in the law of attraction and manifestation, you become more centered, more focused. You can achieve your goals better, right? So I always set very high goals in my life, and in my past, whatever goals that I set in my past, I achieved all of them. And of course, now I've got much higher goals, and and I feel very confident in reaching them, because I've always, met almost impossible, or not almost, but where if I only talk about the goals, you will also realize it is definitely impossible, and I achieved it. Multiple goals, many impossible goals. I achieved it, right? And I showed that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. And in history, you hear of so many people that told the Wright brothers they will never be able to fly. They told Henry Ford that mechanical vehicle is saying will never take off. They used to laugh at him, right? That he's invented, this type of machine. And they even told Thomas Edison to give up after he was failing 1,000 times to create the light bulb. He said no, he's going to find a way. He didn't believe he failed 1,000 times. He believed he found 1,000 ways in which it won't work, and now he's that much closer. And this was taking many years, right? And a lot of funding, right? And his belief in it, and the funders kept feeding him, because he was so strongly convinced that he's going to, so even you are convinced, you believe you're going to achieve it, and you strongly, going for it, you're going to achieve it, right? It's the secret to achieving anything, right? So hope that information helps you, on the different postures of yoga, and how it can help you. And take care of yourself always.